the laughter of the stars. The galaxy was full of voices, and many of those voices laughed at the name of Earth. To the great empires, Earth was a young world, small and untested. The humans had no seat in the High Council, no powerful fleets to defend them, no ancient history that could command respect. To the galaxy, they were only fragile dreamers who had stepped into the stars too late. The council members often spoke of them as children playing with fire. Some alien leaders mocked openly, saying humanity was too weak even to rule their own system. At the Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council, the words echoed across the chamber. A proud alien from the Kethar Dominion stood tall and sneered. "Earth should know its place," he declared, his voice sharp like steel. "They are nothing but scavengers, surviving on scraps of old technology, begging for trade and protection." The other delegates laughed, their voices mixing into a roar that filled the chamber like thunder. From the shadows of the hall, the human ambassador stood silently, his hands clasped tightly, his eyes calm. He said nothing, because words could not silence centuries of arrogance. The laughter was not new. For decades, Earth had been called the weakling, the slow learner, the backward child of the stars. Alien scholars wrote papers on why humanity would never rise. Alien soldiers joked that fighting humans would be like swatting insects. To the galaxy, Earth's silence was weakness, but silence has many meanings, and humans carried silence like a weapon. When the council adjourned, whispers spread across the stars. The galaxy was restless. Old wars had scarred the empires, yet they still united in their mockery of Earth. On trade routes, alien merchants told stories of human failures. In military academies, alien officers taught their cadets that humans would never become a threat, even on distant colonies. Young alien children laughed when they spoke of Earth. They said humans were soft, fragile, and always begging for peace, and so the galaxy continued to laugh, blind to what waited in the dark. Yet, beyond the eyes of the galaxy, Earth was not idle. Beneath oceans, deep inside mountains, and hidden in asteroid fields, humanity worked in silence. They built ships no one had ever seen. They tested weapons no one could imagine. They studied every alien race, every empire, every weapon used in past wars. They learned weaknesses, they learned patterns, and they learned fear. But they did not show this knowledge. They did not reveal their creations. They smiled when mocked, and bowed when insulted. And in that silence, they prepared. One night, a secret message was sent across the void. It was not sent to the council, nor to any empire directly. It was intercepted by accident, by a wandering scout ship belonging to the Vexari Union. The alien crew did not understand the strange human code at first, but when the message was cracked, it was only a single sentence, a sentence that froze their blood. "Do not mistake silence for weakness." The crew panicked, forwarding the message to their superiors. The Vexari leaders laughed, thinking it was only human pride, a desperate attempt to sound strong. They passed the message to other empires, and once again the galaxy laughed. But some, only a few, felt a shadow move inside their hearts. What if the humans had been waiting, not hiding? On Earth, the leaders sat in silence around their hidden command tables. They had heard the laughter for too long. They remembered every insult, every humiliation, every treaty forced upon them. And now the time was close. For centuries, humanity had swallowed the pride of others, but their patience had limits. The galaxy believed Earth was weak. The galaxy believed Earth was small. The galaxy believed Earth would never strike, and that belief would soon break. In the quiet night above Earth, massive shadows drifted in orbit, unseen by alien eyes. Ships the size of mountains, black as the void, moved slowly from their hidden docks. Engines that did not roar but whispered like storms lit the darkness. Inside those ships, men and women stood at their stations, ready, waiting for the call. The galaxy still laughed, but Earth was no longer listening. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. But in silence the humans had sharpened their claws, and soon the galaxy would see the truth. The laughter of the stars would end, and in its place, the galaxy would hear the roar of humanity. Not in words, but in fire. Not in diplomacy, but in war. The silence of Earth had been mistaken, and soon every empire would understand the price of their arrogance. The hidden armories of Earth. The galaxy believed Earth was poor and fragile, but the truth was buried deep where no alien eye could see. While alien empires wasted centuries on luxury and pride, Humanity had turned every insult into fuel, every laugh was remembered, every mockery recorded, and behind the curtains of peace, Earth built in silence, factories hidden beneath oceans, shipyards buried under the ice of Antarctica, and laboratories floating in the shadows of asteroids, all of them worked without rest, creating machines that should not exist. The alien powers thought Earth had nothing more than small fleets and outdated guns, but the humans had learned from every alien war. They studied the plasma weapons of the Cathar Dominion, the shield walls of the Vexari, the energy beams of the Talor Combine. They studied and they adapted. For every alien strength, humanity designed a weapon to break it. For every alien weakness, they built a hammer to strike it. The Council spies tried to infiltrate Earth many times. They saw the outer shell of Earth's military, old cruisers, patched warships, and tired soldiers. They laughed again, reporting to their masters that Earth was hopeless, but none of them reached the hidden layers. None of them returned from the deep tunnels beneath the Pacific, where giant engines hummed in the dark. None of them reached the shipyards hidden inside hollowed moons, because those who came too close were erased quietly, and their absence was blamed on pirates or accidents. In one secret dock, a massive warship rested under black floodlights. Its armor was layered with metals unknown to the galaxy, fused with Earth's own discoveries. The ship was silent, but its size was terrifying, 100 times larger than a dreadnought, with weapons hidden behind smooth plating. The engineers called it Leviathan. It was not the only one. Around it, dozens of other ships waited, their hulls covered like giants sleeping under blankets, each one a beast designed not to defend, but to strike. The galaxy thought humans were afraid of war, but in truth, humanity was preparing for war that could burn galaxies. Young cadets trained not in parades but in brutal silence. They trained inside orbital arenas where gravity shifted, where air could vanish without warning. They trained in forests, deserts, and frozen wastelands, learning to fight where no alien soldier could last. Human soldiers were taught one law: do not show mercy to those who mock your existence. Then came the accident that cracked open the truth. A Vexari scout ship patrolling near the Sol system detected a strange signal. At first they thought it was human mining traffic, but when they followed it, their sensors screamed. The scouts discovered a hidden asteroid base, enormous, shielded, impossible to build with human resources. Through cracks in the camouflage they saw shapes, warships, black and sharp. The Vexari panicked, sending data back to their command. Within days, spurs spread through the empires. Humans were building something in secret, and it was not small. The Council dismissed it as exaggeration. They believed the Vexari were inventing stories to gain attention, but the rumors did not stop. More scouts vanished, more signals were intercepted, until finally a blurry transmission leaked across the trade networks. It showed a shadow larger than a city, slowly rising from the darkness of an asteroid, its engines lit like suns, and then the transmission ended with silence. For the first time, the laughter of the galaxy was uncertain. For the first time, doubt entered their hearts. On Earth, the leaders watched the Council with cold smiles. They knew the secret was slipping, but it no longer mattered. The fleets were ready, the soldiers were ready, the weapons were ready. For centuries, Earth had bowed its head, but now the time of restraint was over. Every insult had been sharpened into a blade. Every laugh had been turned into fire. The galaxy thought humanity had no armories, but the truth was this: humanity itself had become the armory, and soon that armory would open, not in defense, but in vengeance. The hidden fleet stirred, the great engines prepared, the silence of Earth would break, and the stars themselves would tremble when humanity's wrath was revealed. The first blow. The galaxy believed humans would never dare to strike first. For centuries they thought Earth would remain silent, bowing to insults and laughing whispers. But silence is dangerous. Silence is the breath before the storm. And when the storm came, it came without warning. The first blow fell upon the Cathar Dominion. They had mocked Earth the loudest, calling humans weak insects unworthy of space. They had laughed in the council halls, demanding Earth be stripped of all rights to colonize. Their fleets patrolled close to Sol, waiting for the day they would invade and enslave, but they did not know that humanity was already watching them. From the dark edges of their system, Terran ships waited in silence, their hulls black against the void, when the Cathar fleet moved to intercept what they thought was a small human convoy. The trap was sprung. Out of the shadows came the Leviathan, its massive frame blotting out the stars. One blast from its primary cannon split the Cathar flagship in half. The crew of the Dominion never had time to scream. The other alien ships turned their weapons, firing beams and plasma, but their shots scattered harmlessly against Earth's new shields. Then the humans answered. Dozens of Terran warships decloaked, their engines igniting like suns. Missiles streaked across space, bending mid-flight as if guided by unseen hands. Rail cannons roared, spitting fire that tore through armor thicker than fortresses. The Cathar fleet collapsed in minutes, ships breaking apart, soldiers screaming into the void. Alien commanders shouted that it was impossible, that Earth could never have such power. But denial did not stop their destruction. One Cathar admiral managed to send a single transmission before his ship exploded. It echoed across the Dominion, across the Council, across every listening ear. They were never weak, he cried. They were waiting. And then there was silence. The galaxy was stunned. News spread faster than light, carried by traders, smugglers, and soldiers who had seen the impossible. The humans had not only fought, they had annihilated a fleet that was supposed to be untouchable. Every empire gathered their leaders, trying to explain what had happened. Some claimed it was luck, others claimed the humans had stolen alien weapons. But deep inside, fear had begun to grow. On Earth, the victory was not celebrated with cheers. It was only the beginning. Inside hidden bunkers, commanders marked the Cathar Dominion as broken and turned their eyes to the next empire. This was not a war for survival anymore. This was retribution. Every insult, every humiliation, every century of mockery was now a debt, and humanity would collect every debt in blood. But the first blow did more than destroy ships. It shattered illusions. The galaxy had always believed humans were the weaker species. Now they saw Terran warships cut through empires like blades through paper. They saw soldiers fight without fear, using weapons no one had counters for. They saw the silence of Earth transform into fury, and they began to whisper in terror. What else are they hiding? In council chambers, panic spread. Some demanded immediate war against Earth, to crush them before they grew stronger. Others demanded peace, fearing extinction if humanity was provoked further. But the humans did not wait for debates. While the council argued, more fleets moved in silence, striking at listening posts, destroying hidden bases, erasing spies. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time, and now they fought without restraint. Across alien worlds, citizens watched the news in horror. The same humans who were mocked yesterday now stood like titans today. Parents whispered to their children not to laugh at humans again. Soldiers stared at their rifles and wondered if they would ever be enough. And rulers trembled, because they had created this. They had mocked the sleeping giant until it woke. And when it woke in rage. In the silence of space, a single Terran ship drifted through the wreckage of the Cathar fleet. Its captain looked at the burning remains of alien dreadnoughts and spoke to his crew. "This is only the first," he said, his voice calm. "The galaxy laughed at us. Now the galaxy will learn." And his words echoed through every soldier, every fleet, every waiting human world. The time of silence was over. The time of fire had begun, the wrath unleashed. The first strike against the Cathar Dominion had shaken the galaxy, but no one believed it would continue. Some thought it was a lucky victory, others thought it was a single hidden weapon Earth had unleashed in desperation. But within weeks, every doubt was burned away. Humanity was not defending, humanity was advancing. And when they advanced without restraint. The second wave came against the Vexari Union. They were among the loudest voices in mocking Earth, calling humans fragile and cowardly. Now, their border stations flickered with alarms as Terran fleets appeared from nowhere. Black warships moved like shadows, their weapons tearing through defenses in seconds. Planets that once mocked humans now saw their skies burn. The Vexari military tried to resist, but they were crushed within days. Their capital fell silent, their leaders captured, their fleets shattered. The galaxy watched in horror as the Union begged for mercy, but humanity had none to give. The wrath of Earth spread like fire. One by one, empires that had laughed too loudly found themselves targeted. Terran ships did not ask for surrender. They erased resistance. Cities turned dark. Fleets turned to wreckage. Armies scattered into ash. Human commanders gave no speeches. They gave no warnings. They moved with a precision the galaxy had never seen. Every strike was calculated, every victory absolute. In the council chambers, chaos erupted. Delegates screamed, demanding action, but fear choked their voices. The strongest among them admitted the truth. The humans had studied them all. For every weapon, the humans had a counter. For every defense, the humans had a hammer. One counselor whispered the words that chilled the chamber. They know us better than we know ourselves. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's silence, but now the galaxy screamed in terror at humanity's fury. No one expected Earth to strike so hard. No one expected Earth to move so fast. And yet, system after system fell. Alien citizens fled in panic, whispering stories of humans arriving like hosts, killing without hesitation, leaving wreckage behind. For centuries, humans had been underestimated. Now they were unstoppable. But behind the wrath was not only vengeance, it was memory. The humans remembered every insult, every humiliation, every council meeting filled with laughter. They remembered the empires who refused them aid, who stole their colonies, who called them weak, and they decided the galaxy would never forget. Where the humans struck, they carved a message into the ruins. This is the price of mockery. On one burning world, an alien commander surrendered on his knees. He looked up at the Terran officer, his voice shaking. "We thought you were weak," he said. The officer stared back, his eyes cold. "You were wrong," he replied. And with those words, the city was turned to ash. The galaxy could not believe it. They had seen wars, they had seen empires rise and fall, but never had they seen one species unleash such fury. Never had they seen armies fight without mercy, fleets move without hesitation, commanders strike without pause. The humans were not defending, they were conquering. The humans were not asking for respect, they were demanding it in blood. Alien children cried as their parents whispered stories of human fleets. Soldiers who once mocked the weak species now trembled when orders came to face them. Rulers who once sneered in the council now begged in silence for peace, but humanity was not listening. The time for words had ended, the time for wrath had begun, and as worlds burned, as fleets shattered, the galaxy began to whisper a truth no one had dared to speak. "We created this," they said. "We mocked them until they rose. We laughed until they roared." And now the laughter of the stars was gone, replaced with fire, silence, and the endless march of humanity's vengeance. The Council in fear. The Galactic Council had been built to keep peace among the stars. It had survived ancient wars. It had endured rivalries between empires, but now the Council trembled. Not because of an old empire, not because of a long-standing rival. It trembled because of Earth, the world they had mocked, the world they had laughed at for centuries. In the great chamber, voices rose in panic. Delegates shouted at one another, their words filled with fear. "The humans are destroying everything," cried one. "They have weapons we cannot match," shouted another. The air was thick with terror, not strategy, not unity. For the first time in ages, the council was divided. Some argued for peace, their voices weak but desperate. "We must beg the humans to stop," one delegate said, his hands shaking. "We mock them too much, but if we surrender, perhaps they will spare us." Others raged with pride, refusing to bend. "Never," a proud warlord roared. "If we surrender, they will enslave us. We must fight, even if it costs us everything." But even his voice cracked, even his eyes showed fear. The council tried to send messages to Earth. They begged for meetings, for talks, for diplomacy, but the humans gave no answer. Their fleets moved, their weapons struck, their wrath spread. Earth was silent, Earth was merciless. Reports flooded the chamber each day. Kethar fleets destroyed, Vexari Union broken, colonies burning, citizens fleeing. Every empire had losses. No one was safe. One by one, worlds that once mocked Earth became ruins. Every message ended the same way. They do not stop. The council leaders gathered in private, their voices low, their faces pale. They admitted the truth. Humanity had studied them. Humanity had prepared. One leader whispered, "They have counters to everything we built." Another added, "They know our weaknesses better than we do." The silence that followed was heavy. No one dared to admit the truth, but it sat in their hearts like a blade. The galaxy had no defense. Outside the chamber, fear spread among the people. Alien citizens whispered in the streets. They said humans were weak, one said. "But weak species do not burn empires in weeks," another replied. Merchants closed their routes, fearing Terran fleets. Armies lost their morale, fearing battles that could never be won. Even the proudest empires felt the fear in their bones. The Council considered building a grand coalition. 10 empires united against Earth, pooling their fleets, their weapons, their soldiers. It sounded powerful, it sounded necessary, but deep inside, they all knew the truth. Humanity had been preparing for centuries. They had already calculated this move, and they had weapons ready to break it. Whispers spread among the leaders. Some suggested betraying allies, offering sacrifices to Earth to survive. Others plotted in silence, searching for ways to save only their own worlds. The unity of the galaxy began to crack. The laughter of the stars was long gone. Now only fear filled the void. One elder counselor spoke with trembling lips. "We mocked them," he said. "We laughed when we should have feared. And now they come for us all." No one argued. No one disagreed. The truth was too heavy to deny. From his hidden chamber on Earth, a human commander watched the chaos unfold. He listened to the intercepted transmissions of the Council. Their fear was obvious, their desperation clear, and he whispered to his officers, "Let them fear," he said. "Fear is the first step. Mercy will not follow." The officers saluted, their eyes cold, their hearts steady. They knew the galaxy would break, piece by piece, and humanity would never forgive. The Council had once mocked Earth. Now the Council begged for survival. But no voice, no vote, no empire could stop what was coming, for humanity had unleashed its wrath, and wrath would not rest until the stars themselves be end. The fall of the proud. The galaxy's fear grew heavy, but pride is a poison that never dies. Among the empires, one still stood tall, their arrogance stronger than their terror. The Zorian Empire, the oldest and most powerful, refused to bow. They had ruled for millennia. They had crushed rivals, they had silenced rebellions, and they believed that they alone could stop humanity. In the council chambers, the Zorian warlord spoke with fire in his voice. "We will not kneel to these Terran beasts," he roared. "They are nothing but shadows and tricks. Their victories come from fear and surprise. We will gather our strength, we will unite the galaxy, and we will burn Earth to ash." Some empires cheered, clinging to the last fragments of pride. Others shook their heads in silence, knowing pride could not stand against fury. But the coalition was formed. 10 empires, fleets of thousands, armies of millions, weapons from every corner of the stars. It was the greatest force the galaxy had ever seen, and they marched together against Earth. The humans knew they were coming. From hidden stations, from intercepted transmissions, from whispers in dark networks, humanity watched. But instead of fear, there was calm. The Terran commanders gathered their fleets, their voices steady. "The proud have come," one said, "and they believe numbers will save them." The officers nodded. "They will learn what restraint has hidden." The battle began on the edge of the Sirius system. The coalition fleets filled the stars, their weapons glowing, their engines burning. Alien soldiers shouted with pride, believing they would finally crush the human threat. But then the humans arrived. The Leviathan appeared first, its shadow larger than cities. Behind it came the Terran armada, ships black as midnight, weapons hidden behind smooth armor. The galaxy had never seen such machines. And when he opened fire, the stars themselves shook. The first wave of alien fleets fell in minutes. Terran missiles bent through defenses, rail cannons tore dreadnoughts apart, energy beams cut through shields as if they were paper. The coalition commanders screamed for formations, for counterattacks. But nothing worked. Every human strike was precise, every move calculated. The humans knew their enemy's tactics before they used them. It was as if Earth had studied this battle for centuries, and perhaps they had. The proud Zorian fleet charged, their flagships towering like mountains of steel. They fired their ancient cannons, weapons that had broken empires in the past. But the Terran shields did not falter. In response, the humans unleashed weapons never seen before, gravity warheads that bent space itself, pulling enemy ships into crushing fields, sonic lances that split armor with vibrations, shattering vessels from the inside out. The Zorian ships broke, their pride shattered with them. Billions across the galaxy watched in silence. The coalition that was supposed to save them was being destroyed. Alien soldiers who once laughed at humans now cried in terror as their fleets burned. On the ground, armies prepared to fight. But Terran dropships fell like meteors. Human soldiers poured out, armored, unyielding, merciless. No line held, no city stood. The coalition cracked in days. The proudest empire collapsed in weeks. The Zorian warlord stood on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes wide with disbelief. "This cannot be," he whispered, his voice broken. "They were supposed to be weak." A Terran officer's voice answered through the comms, cold and sharp. "We were never weak. We were waiting." And then the warlord's ship exploded into fire. When the battle ended, the coalition was gone. 10 empires lay broken, their fleets scattered, their worlds aflame. The galaxy's last hope had been crushed, and in the silence that followed, every race understood. No power could stand against Earth. No pride could save them. The humans had struck without restraint, and the galaxy would never rise against them again. The new order of humanity. The galaxy was silent. For the first time in centuries, the stars held no laughter, no mockery, no pride, only fear, only smoke, only the ashes of broken empires. The coalition was gone. The mighty Zorian fleet was shattered. The proudest warlords were dead, and through the silence moved the Terran armadas, endless black ships drifting like shadows across the void. In every system, alien eyes turned upward. They had once looked at the skies with arrogance, mocking the humans who had dared to climb into space. Now, they looked with terror, because above their worlds, Terran warships floated like gods of vengeance. The people whispered, their voices trembling. What will the humans do now? The Galactic Council still existed, but it no longer commanded power. Its chambers were filled with broken voices, leaders who had lost fleets, lost armies, lost worlds. They sat in silence, waiting, because they knew the humans were coming. And they did. The council doors opened, and into the great chamber marched Terran soldiers, armored in black, their boots striking like thunder. At their front walked the human commander, his eyes cold, his face without mercy. The alien leaders trembled. Some tried to rise and speak, but their voices cracked. "Humanity," one stammered. We seek peace." The commander stared, his gaze sharp as a blade. "You laughed when we asked for peace," he said, his voice steady. "You mocked us, you stole from us, you called us weak." The council bowed their heads. No one dared to reply, because every word was true. The commander raised his hand, and on the great screens above, the galaxy lit up. Every major world, every stronghold, every fleet. Terran ships hovered there, ready to strike. "We hold the stars," the commander said. "You cannot fight us. You cannot run from us. You cannot hide from us." The chamber shook with silence. No one dared to breathe. Then the human words became law. "You will not erase us. You will not mock us again," the commander said. "From this day forward, Earth is not a voice to be ignored. Earth is the voice that rules." The council crumbled. Leaders fell to their knees, begging for survival, and humanity gave them no kindness, only terms. Every empire would bend to Terran rule. Every fleet would serve under Terran command. Every planet would remember that humanity had risen from silence to fire. This was not a choice, this was survival. Across the galaxy, alien citizens watched their rulers kneel. They watched humans stand tall in the chamber of power, and they understood the galaxy had a new order, and in that order, humanity was first. But Earth did not erase them all. Humanity could have destroyed, could have burned every world. Instead, they forced the galaxy to live with the memory of their arrogance, to live with the scars of their defeat, to live under the eyes of the humans they once mocked, because death would have been mercy, and mercy was not given. On ruined worlds, Terran banners rose. On shattered fleets, Terran officers commanded. In schools, alien children learned new words. Words of earth, words of strength, words of fear. The galaxy was no longer a council of equals. It was a throne, and on that throne sat humanity. Years passed and the silence remained, but this silence was not the silence of weakness. It was the silence of submission. Because every world knew that behind the silence, the Terran fleets still waited. And if anyone dared to laugh again, if anyone dared to mock again, the wrath of Earth would return, without mercy, without restraint, without end. One alien historian wrote in secret. He recorded the rise of humanity, the fall of the proud, the fear of the stars. His last line was simple. They were mocked, they were underestimated, but when they rose, they did not rise as victims. they rose as rulers. That line was whispered across hidden channels, repeated in fear and awe, because everyone knew it was true. In the end, the galaxy remembered only one truth. The silence of Earth had been a mask, and when the mask was removed, the galaxy saw not weakness, but monsters. Monsters they had created with laughter, with insults, with centuries of arrogance. And now, those monsters ruled the stars. The new order had no council, no rivals, no challengers. Only Earth, only humanity. The species that had once been mocked, now the masters of the galaxy, and in the quiet of space, their message burned brighter than any star. We were never weak. We were waiting.